right away. Okay, great. So we got to page distinguishing mind and mental factors. What is that in your book? What is the page number in the book?
97.
97. Okay.
Distinguishing mind and mental factors, right?
That's right. Very good.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And then there's like a whole passage that I'm not going to go through. There's this whole paragraph just explaining mind. I don't think we need to go into that. It's not even in the Tibetan. Can you hear me? Can
Yes.
you hear me clearly? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so it says here consciousness, as explained above, has the nature of being clear and aware. Okay, we know that by now. On the basis of primary function, Buddhist texts distinguish between a moment of consciousness, a mind, and the mental factors that are the facets, that are the features of that mind, or more precisely, that are the functions of that mind. Okay, so that's the introduction to mind and mental factors. Then it goes on to say, as for the mind in general, I don't think we need that. It was not, I couldn't find it, at least not in the chapter on mind and mental factors. Maybe it's from somewhere else. And we don't need it. It goes all the way to, therefore, mind too will have a different referent. On the next page, after the quote from one of the sutras, the Descent into Lanka sutras, there's a short explanation and it finishes with, therefore mind too will have a different referent. Did you find that?
Yeah.
Yes. No.
We won't need that. We don't need that. Okay.
Yeah. It's
All
clear.
right. Yeah. Like I said, I couldn't find it in the text. Maybe it's somewhere. I just don't think. It's good to read. It's good to read, but not in class. And then it goes on to say, regarding the distinction between mind and mental factors. That's from where we'll continue to read. Regarding the distinction between mind and mental factors, distinguishing the middle from the extreme, Maitreya's distinguishing the middle from the extreme says, that which sees the object is consciousness, what sees its attributes, the mental factors. Okay, so that's one of the important quotes that definitely give you a sense what especially the mental factors are all about, or that distinction between the two. Both the root text and the author commentary on this text on Maitreya's distinguishing the middle from the extremes make this point clear. There are two ways of understanding the referent of the word it in the line, its attributes, the mental factor. So its, what does its refer to? It can refer to two things. So it can refer to the mind's attributes or to the attributes of its object, which is explained here. So it says one is to take it as referring to the mind, that is attributes of the mind, and the other is to read it as referring to the object of the mind. So what sees the mind's attributes, the mental factor, or what sees the object's attributes, the mental factors. Okay, so with regard to the attributes of the object, you have the mental factors, in other words. Okay, so these are the two explanations according to the first interpretation or the first explanation. Mental factors refers to the attributes of the main mind. That is the most common explanation. It's the most logical explanation as well, because as you'll see, the second explanation, there's something to it, but it's difficult to say that this applies to all mental factors. Okay, so according to the first explanation, mental factors refers to the attributes of the main minds, or the attributes of its functions. So in other words, just the different functions. According to the second reading, mental factors refers not merely to cognizing the object itself, but to cognizing the specific attributes of the object as well. So in other words, some mental factors, and this is the thing, some mental factors are responsible for cognizing specific attributes of an object. Okay. So the first interpretation, and this is most important, the first interpretation draws the distinction between minds and mental factors, not in terms of their object, but in terms of the cognizing subject's specific functions. Okay. All right. It defines mental factors on the basis of the different aspects of the function of the main mind or consciousness. Main mind as opposed to mental factors. So consider, for example, okay, now there's, I think, an easy way to fast explain it. And then once when we continue reading, I guess all of it falls into place, hopefully. There's, in the beginning, I said some of the analogies can be misleading. The analogy of the king and his subjects, the analogy of the palm of the hand being like the main mind, the fingers being like the mental factors. The problem with all these analogies is that these are all separate objects. You have a main mind, the palm of the hand, and then you have the mental factors, which are like the fingers, but they're different objects. They're of a different nature. The king and the subjects, they have a different nature. The broth as part of a soup, the broth and the vegetables in the soup, again, they're of a different nature. They're different entities. While here we're talking about the same mind. It's one mind. Now, the analogy I usually give, let's take one of you. Let's take Tripti as an example. Okay, I'm just going to choose Tripti as an example. Tripti is one person. So, as a human being, that is her main entity, if you like. Okay, it's totally at random. Like, let's choose the fact that she is a human being. That's the main person. As of Tripti, what's the function of being just a human? Whatever human beings typically do, we can look at Tripti from the point of view of being a human being, the main kind of entity. But then, at the same time as she is a human being, let's take Tripti in this classroom. So being a human being, but at the same time she's a student. She's good at studying. She's good at listening. I think I've said that before, actually. But yeah, so she's good at listening. She's good at studying. She's good at remembering things. She's good at certain things, certain functions she performs. She's just good at. Now we talk about Tripti from the perspective of the human being. That's the main mind. That's like the main mind. Or Tripti from the point of view of being able to listen well. Tripti from the point of view of being able to reflect on something in an effective way. Now she's doing this all simultaneously. At the same time as she is listening, she's reflecting on what she's hearing. She's able to be focused. So Tripti from the point of view of being focused, Tripti from the point of view of being able to focus, Tripti from the point of view of being listening. So you have already 3 omnipresent functions that all work at the same time. What's unusual is that we don't explain people like that. We say Tripti from the point of view of being able to listen well. It's not Tripti from the point of view of being able to reflect on what she hears. Just from that perspective, there's a very typical way in Tibetan, just looking at it from that perspective, in that moment you don't look at it from a different perspective. And so you say they're contradictory, seeing Tripti from, but what I'm pointing at is the same person. Does that make sense? So I can say from the point of view of Tripti being able to reflect on what she hears is not the same as from the point of view of her being able to listen carefully, listen attentively. That's not the same function. So these are all, you see, like in English you would just say she can do this, she can do this, she can do this. Okay, done. But that's not, it's also not necessary to put it in the way it is done here when it comes to mind and mental factors, because it's very difficult to understand the mind. It's not easy to understand the mind. Yeah, clear knowing, okay, we got that now. But there's so much more to it. Again, when I said Tripti from the point of view of the human being, well, that's like the main mind. What does the mind mainly do? It mainly cognizes its object. It's clear knowing. By way of allowing the object to appear to it, it engages the object. It is aware of the object. That is its main function. Now, looking at a particular consciousness from the point of view of that function, being the main function, we label it main mind. Okay, just looking at it from the point of view of that function, from that perspective, we say main mind. And then we can look at that same mind, but this time from the point of view of its ability to make contact with its object, to somehow contact, like that which appears to it, make contact with it. Just making contact doesn't mean much anything else, but just meeting its object. I mean, that's kind of like, that's like, huh? That's kind of weird. But you can do that conceptually. You can look at it from the point of view of just doing that. But first, before you can do that, you need what's called intention or volition, depends on which word you choose. So some aspect of the mind moving towards its object, right? Intention is almost too strong because it's not this kind of intentional intention in the sense that you make an effort to now think, oh, I want to get in touch with the object. No, but it's just this volitional aspect of the mind, this automatic volitional aspect of the mind to move towards the object. So that we call intention or volition. Then there's the contact as well. Then there's the attentiveness of the mind. That we call attention, right? This is one of the omnipresent factors, like moving to staying or focusing on a particular object, because there's a whole variety of things. For instance, when it comes to an eye consciousness, appearing to that eye consciousness, you have like a whole scene in front of you. However, the eye consciousness focuses on a particular aspect. Why? Because it has that function of attention. So from the point of view of the mind performing the function of paying attention to certain aspects, choosing of the different appearing objects, choosing a particular one that it engages in, we say attention. So it's really like tripti from the point of view of being able to listen, tripti from the point of view of being able to be focused while listening, tripti from the point of view of being able to reflect on what she hears, tripti from the point of view of being a human being. Okay, so you've got tripti from the point of view of being a human being is the main mind, and then the other functions are like the secondary ones, and again they're not separate from each other, but conceptually we say from the point of view of this function it's not the mind from the point of view of that other function. It's just that, and it's an unusual way of talking about it. It's unusual. Not that unusual when you, I mean, there's certain ways to describe Buddhism that are unusual in general. I mean, we don't usually describe things that way. So in a way, our mind is already kind of used to this. But I guess this is something that we initially get confused about because of the analogies. And it seems like there are so many minds working together. They're just different continua, but they're not the same mind. That needs to be clear. And the text makes it actually beautifully clear. It does say, a few pages down, it says, well, what it is called here is, we talk about, it should not be understood in the manner of a king surrounded by an entourage of many different ministers, because they're not separate. They're not separate. They're actually one mind. Is this clear now? Is there any question? Because once you understand that, then it all falls into place when you read the rest. And some of you may have already been aware of it, but yeah. Is this all clear? Do you have any questions regarding what I just said? No questions? Okay, good. Then let's
maybe
yes.
Maybe one question. So
yes, please.
So the main mind it's there. Oh. So the main mind just means like the clear and knowing nature of the mind, basically.
Yes, it's just looking at the mind from the point of view of its clear and knowing function. The main function. That's why the definition of mind or of consciousness is usually clear and knowing. That's the main function. So whenever you hear, like, anyone who talks about the mind, the first thing they say, it's clear and knowing. Which means that is its main function. And from that point of view, we label it main mind.
Right. So if you wouldn't have any mental factor, like hypothetically, you would just have like an appearance of an object and a mere kind of knowing of an object, which kind of, I mean, it's nothing that you can experience, right? You cannot like
That's the
infer
thing.
it.
It's mentioned later on. If you didn't have the omnipresent factors, the mind wouldn't be able to be aware of its object. Because although that is its main function, it can't do it on its own. Just as Tripti can't be a human being with having other functions. Like, it's what human being could you have that
Right.
is not able to do other things as well? And still, conceptually, we can look at her function of being a human from one side. I mean, we can just conceptually look at it that way and talk of her just being a human, which is like a main mind, and then the specific functions. But you couldn't have one without the other, especially when it comes to main mind and the omnipresent omnipresent mental factors. Those six, they're really six, are the six basic functions every mind
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Could you say that the mental factors are aspects of the mind? Is that something?
Aspects. What do you mean with the aspect?
Because the way that
Feature.
like the way
Yeah.
that you were talking about Tripti as an example, it made it sound like a mental factor is basically the same as an aspect of the mind.
Yeah, it's a facet. Like in the very first sentence, it says that the mental factors are facets or features of the mind. But in a way, the main mind is also a facet of the mental factors. It goes both ways.
Okay.
Just because
So-
we call it the main mind, it seems like that's in charge. But that's just looking at the mind from the point of view of its most basic function.
Okay. And any mental factor that's present in that moment, is it one entity with the mind?
Yeah, they're the same entity.
Okay. Okay. That's helpful.
It's just one mind. Like I said, so Tripti is just one person. It's
Right.
not like Tripti, the person listening, and then there's another. That would be like she has a multiple personality. I mean, like she's like, all these different Triptis like hanging around her. One listening, one doing this. This is how it sounds when you first learn about her. It sounds as if they were totally separate minds. But I think it's just for our own understanding. I mean, it's almost like you. Let me think. How can I put it? You're looking at the same thing from different angles.
Yeah.
But to understand it better, you make it sound as if each angle was there's something totally separate. Even the analogies you use, they're described as something completely different.
Mhm.
And that's, I think, where the confusion lies. 6 consciousnesses. You're kidding me? You have at least, with every mental consciousness, you have 6 functions, and so it seems like 6 different consciousnesses, the 5 omnipresent plus the main one.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you need to just change that kind of thinking, and once you do, and you get used to this, like from the point of view of this, from the point of view of that, the thing is that the fact is that they're contradictory. That may also be a little bit difficult to understand. That's a bit like saying looking at the vase from the point of view of being a product, looking at the vase from the point of view of being impermanent. Those are contradictory. But being impermanent a product is not. They're not contradictory. But when you conceptually phrase it in that way, just from the point of view of being impermanent, that's not the vase from the point of view of being a product. Those are contradictory. So the function of discernment, those are not contradictory, but just from the point of view, looking at the mind from the point of view. So this is psychologically just so effective because it gives you the ability to separate it from everything else. To conceptually just understand that. So that separation is necessary to fully understand something that we can't even see. I hope that's clear. And with this in mind, let's now read the rest of it, or go through the rest of it. Okay. According to the first explanation, mental factors refers to attributes of the main mind or to attributes of its functions. So the main mind always gets like the central position, but you could also decide, nope, the main function of the mind is to be discerning. So from now on, being clear and knowing, it's just think, well, things don't exist in and of themselves. We just label them, and it depends on what we consider to be the main function or not. Right? In and of itself, I mean, whatever. I mean, it's in the end, it's all basically labeled on the basis of certain attributes we consider to be most important. Okay. According to the second reading, mental factors refers not merely to cognizing the object itself, but to cognizing specific attributes of the object as well. Well, let's leave the second interpretation for later. The first interpretation draws the distinction between minds and mental factors not in terms of their objects, but in terms of the cognizing subject's specific functions. It defines mental factors on the basis of the different aspects of the function of the main mind or consciousness. Main mind or primary consciousness, it should say, because main mind or primary consciousness are synonymous. Consider, for example, a visual consciousness and its concomitant mental factors. So a visual primary consciousness. The Tibetan word for primary consciousness is not just shepa, but number shepa. Number shepa in Tibetan. Number here kind of could be translated as primary. It doesn't mean primary. It's actually just a word that emphasizes the mind. Number shepa, number dopa, for instance. So you use it sometimes just to emphasize something, but never mind here. In this context, it specifically means primary consciousness. Something that comes up a little later, like when we talk about the 5 aggregates, it is actually not correct to call the fifth, or whichever number you would give it, like fifth or first or whatever. Well, the fifth, like oftentimes consciousness is mentioned as the 5th aggregate. It should not be consciousness. That's wrong. It should be primary consciousness, because like feeling and discernment, they're all consciousness. So why would you explain a category, say consciousness, when that is actually, when feeling, or why would you, for instance, explain the 49 remaining mental factors that are part of the conditioning factor, as it's called here? So you have form, feeling, discernment, conditioning factor, and consciousness. So these 49 mental factors, and there are more than 49, of course, but they're mentioned at least in the scriptures. So that's why mainly in Vasubandhu's and as well, of course, Asanga. So based on these texts, we talk about the 51 mental factors. I think, yeah, it's actually Asanga. So based on that, we talk about 51 mental factors, and 2 have already been mentioned separately as calling it feeling, or describing as feeling and discernment, and then the remaining 49, they're part of the conditioning factor. And then you have consciousness, like they're all consciousness. It should be primary consciousness. In Tibetan it doesn't say shepa, it says number shepa. But it was in the past, some of the older translations, they just said consciousness, and everyone adopted that terminology. But I think it's usually, I'm not a fan of changing terminology a lot. Like, you get used to using certain words, but this is just plainly wrong. It needs to be called primary consciousness. I think that would be important. And then it makes sense. You have the body, you have all the other mental factors, with 2 being separated out, and there's a specific reason for it. We'll get to once we get to this passage that talks about the 5 aggregates as in the context of mind and mental factors. So, and then you have the remaining 49. Oh, no, wait, 51, yeah. And then you have consciousness as like the main mind. So, therefore, draws the distinction between mind. Here it says a visual consciousness should be a visual primary consciousness. Consider, for example, a visual primary consciousness and its concomitant or associated mental factors, accompanying functions, basically, apprehending a visible form, or its accompanying minds seen from the point of view of its functions, which are all part of the same mind. Here the sense consciousness is mere perception of its object, the visible form, constitute the primary consciousness. Oh, here you have primary consciousness. Previously you didn't. So primary consciousness constitutes the primary consciousness. Just the fact that it perceives its object. It appears, it's perceived. The mental factors accompanying it, on the other hand, not only perceive the form. So, by the way, whatever function one of the minds or mental factors performs, the other ones do too. Right? I mean, like Tripti, from the point of view of being the one listening to the teachings, is also focused, is also being able to reflect, but just not from the point of view of doing such and such. Yeah, it's just a matter of expression. It's just a matter of kind of expressing this, but it's also how the conceptual mind works. I can only focus on one function at a time. So from that perspective, I can kind of separate them out. Ooh, from the point of view of this, from the point of view of that. The mental factors accompanying it, on the other hand, not only perceive the form, not as part of their main function, but are each characterized in terms of specific functions. So this is beautifully put. They are each characterized in terms of specific functions, such as turning the mind toward the object. In Tibetan, it literally means moving the mind toward the object, which is the function of Simjun Sempa, like intention. Not forgetting an object, that is mindfulness. Mindfulness in the traditional sense of the word. The way we use mindfulness in the West, it's really a combination. We talked about this before. It's a combination of alertness, meta-awareness or introspection, and recollection. Right? Those three. That's what we usually, there are three mental functions actually at work. Recollection is the Tibetan word for mindfulness. So recalling the object. Okay. So that's that's meant here. Not forgetting an object already cognized and so on. So if you stay focused, you need to have this mental function of recollection, because otherwise the mind goes off all the time. Okay, what do I want to do? Sometimes like you're meditating and like, what was I just doing? Oh, I was meditating, right? I mean, at least I do that. It's like I'm like daydreaming. I caught, and I'm like, wait, what am I actually doing here? Oh my God. Yeah. So, not forgetting an object, and so on. Therefore, a main mind is a cognizing agent that is characterized only in terms of perceiving its object, without needing to be qualified in terms of something else. Right? Just from that perspective, it's seen, without needing to be qualified in another way. A mental factor is a cognizing agent, again, that same mind, but this time perceiving the very same object, because, yeah, it's one mind. Of course it perceives the same object, and engages the object principally by way of different attributes. So we look at it, and this is not really mentioned in the Tibetan, but it's understood to mean that. So from the point of view of engaging its object principally by way of different attributes, such as function and so on. And function and so on, yeah, well, this I guess also includes the second interpretation, although that is very difficult to uphold in some ways, but never mind. Like here, it's just really basically functions. The mind and its accompanying mental factors are concomitant, are associated in sharing 5 similar features. So there are certain 5 similar features, and one of them is definitely having the same object. Therefore, there's no difference between them insofar as both cognize the object itself and its attributes, the object's attributes. So all of them, you look at a vase, you look at there's the same mind. Of course, they look at the vase and maybe the front of the vase. They're all the same. You look at the vase from the front or from one side or from the outside, whichever. They're all the same in perceiving that. Of course, it's the same mind. Nevertheless, the main mind and mental factors other than feeling, such as discernment, other than feeling, so except for feeling, discernment experience the object not through their own power, but through the power of feeling. So you have feeling, and then all the other 4 omnipresent mental factors, plus the main mind, they all experience pleasure, displeasure, or a neutral feeling, but not through their own power. It's not seen from the point of view of that particular function. The thing is, I just realized as I'm talking, it seems like it's not merely labeled. There's really something like they're like agents. They're like these, like performing these functions as if they were like each had like a specific job. And again, as a sense, they're totally separate. But it's just a way to put it forth. Like I can talk about Tripti in that way, and it really sounds as if I'm talking about different people. But that's not, of course, what's happening here. And it goes back to the time of the Buddha, of course. The Buddha explained it this way, and at that time it was really appropriate, and people really understood the mind in that way. So the mind is accompanying mental factors so they have 5 similar features. There's no difference between them, and so far as they recognize the object itself and the objects of these the attributes of these objects. Nevertheless, the main mind and mental factor, other than feeling, such as discernment, experience the objects. So they do whatever the other functions do, they do as well, but they're just not seen from that perspective. Also, the main mind and any other mental factor other than discernment, they distinguish their object, they discern their object, but not through their own power. They're not seen from the point of view of discerning their object, so it's not through their own power, but through the power of the factor of discernment. Yeah, I guess through the power, it seems like there are all these powerful little things that do their own thing. Right? Doesn't it sound like that? Like, ooh, I've got my own power over here, and then Kelsey's got her own power over there. But again, that's just a conceptual way of looking at it. Intention. So, okay. For example, if the main mind has the aspect of apprehending a pot. Okay, that's just another way. This aspect thing. That is like they use the word aspect so much. In fact, when they say primary consciousness, they're actually saying aspect consciousness. It's one of their favorite words. It comes up like number. Number is used so much. Number is used to emphasize. Number is used for aspect, and then aspect has so many different meanings. Yeah, there's actually one debate that comes a little later where aspect is explained again quite differently. But I guess we have similar words in English. We're just not aware of it necessarily. So here it says a main mind that has the aspect of apprehending a pot. It's the same as saying a main mind that apprehends a pot. The aspects of all of its accompanying mental factors, so it's another way of saying all of its accompanying mental factors, feeling, discernment, contact, and attention, as well as any others there may be, are equally that of apprehending the pot. So you can leave away aspect here, makes the same sense. I'm on actually, if I have to translate this into German eventually, I'm still working on the first volume, but once I do, I'm not going to mention aspect. People may think like there's some really important reason for saying aspect. In Tibetan, you just say it and it means the same thing. I don't think it doesn't make any different sense. The main mind apprehends a pot. The accompanying mental factors are equally that of apprehending the pot. That's what this is saying. So the aspect has no extra purpose really. But in Tibetan, it sounds really eloquent, so people say it. It sounds good. It sounds kind of sophisticated. I mean, it sounds nice, but it doesn't serve like a great purpose, at least not in this context here. Likewise, just as the aspect of the mental factor, or just as the mental factor feeling experiences an object that is beneficial, harmful, or neutral, so the main mind and any other mental factor, such as discernment, intention, faith, and so on, must be that of experiencing the object that is beneficial, harmful, or neutral. In other words, yes, so if feeling as its main function experiences something as pleasant, so does the rest of it, because it's the same mind. Okay. Clarifying the meaning of the treasury of knowledge by Yasomitra, who's also...
Nishima, what is faith here?
Pardon?
It suddenly mentions faith after intent.
Faith. Oh, no, it's just saying other mental factors. You can have faith as well. That's also a mental factor.
So not the omnipresent.
No.
Some other.
No, because what it says somewhere here, as well as any other one that may be present. I thought I read this just now. Apparently in the aspect of all accompanying feeling, discernment, attention, as well as any others there may be. Mentioning first the 5 omnipresent ones, as well as any others there may be. So there may be faith, there may be anger, there may be attachment. Later on it explains how many there have to be at the very least, and so on. Yeah, although that's debatable, but never mind. Okay, so the aspect of the main mind and any other mental factors such as discernment, intention, faith, anger, and so on, must be that of experiencing the object that is beneficial, harmful, or neutral. Okay, oh gosh, I'm so tempted to start debating now, but never mind, it comes a little later. It's already, this is so difficult, like this beneficial, harmful, or neutral. Like, are you apprehending it or not? You experience it, but are you apprehending it? Are you always apprehending a beneficial vase or harmful vase? Or, like, very difficult in Tibetan, just as difficult. So feeling is not easy. Anyway, we'll get to that. So, clarifying the meaning of the treasure of knowledge by Yasomitra, who's also known as Jinaputra, says same basis. So these are the 5 features that they all share, have similar features, or they're all concomitant in sharing 5 similar features. And these are the 5 here, first of all listed, but explained in more detail later on. So same basis, which basically means sense fact, dominant basis, dominant or uncommon dominant condition. Same object, object. Same aspect. Again, a little bit difficult. What does it mean, the aspect? Explained also sometimes differently. The same time and the same substance. The same substance can sometimes be explained to mean they are one substantial entity, but traditionally it's explained in a slightly different way. Okay. So same basis, object, aspect, time, and substance indicates that whatever basis gives rise to the mind, to the main mind, that very basis gives rise to its accompanying mental factors, feeling, discernment, intention, and so on. The omnipresent ones, yeah. So if it's, of course, it's when, like let's say in eye consciousness, it has arisen from the eye sense faculty. That same mind, of course, all its functions arise from the same eye sense faculty. Likewise, whatever object gives rise to the object, let's take the eye consciousness, apprehending a vase or a pot or whatever you want to call it, or a table, of course they all arise from the same objective condition because they're the same mind. That very object gives rise to feeling and so on. Whatever aspect gives rise to the mind, that very aspect gives rise to feeling and so on. If that's the mind's aspect is blue. So here it seems to be saying, again, it arises, and later on it supports that. If it arises in the aspect of blue, for instance, you perceive a table, so it arises in the aspect of table. But it's really like saying the same thing. So the object and the aspect are sometimes the same, but when you take, for instance, let's say you perceive that the table is a product, then the table is the object and the product is the aspect. So again, the word aspect is used when you talk about that which is observed and the aspect. Then it's kind of A is B, A being B. You don't always necessarily just perceive the object, you perceive certain features of the object. That's like I just said, the table being a product, the table being big, the table being blue. So then the object is the table and the aspect is its blueness. Right? That's one way of looking at it. Here it's, of course, the mind then also arises in the aspect of blue. It's like blue appears to it, in other words. Yeah, but of course it also arises in the aspect of a blue table. But then you distinguish, like, the object is the table because it's the feature possessor, it's the attribute possessor, it's the table. On the basis of that you have blueness or productness. Right? It's that which has the attribute of being blue. This is a little bit difficult because they're not that consistent how the word aspect is used. If I were to ask you define aspect, it's so difficult because that word aspect, like I said, like number is used so much that it's very in every context it has a slightly different meaning. I mean, in different contexts it has slightly different meaning. So it's very difficult to pinpoint it by saying, oh, this is its definition. Right? So you get used to it. Yes, just a sec. You get used to it, like when you speak Tibetan, you get used to using the word number in different ways. But when you translate it into English, you have a lot of aspects used. The word aspect is used quite a lot. Yes, go ahead, please, Anastasia. Anastasia.
So what I'm confused about is like, so when if I'm thinking about chocolate or craving chocolate, so I have a mind of attachment to chocolate.
Yes.
The object of engagement would be just chocolate, or the chocolate with very great qualities,
Okay.
exaggerated good qualities.
All right. Yeah, it comes a little bit later. It talks about attachment, for instance, and I think there's a mistake here in the Tibetan. But let me first ask you, is attachment a correct mind or a wrong consciousness?
Wrong consciousness.
Okay. So take attachment. It follows it's a wrong consciousness.
Accept.
It follows its engaged object doesn't exist.
Accept. No, wait. Why?
Pardon? Oh,
Why?
its engaged object
The
exists.
appearing object. Yeah. No, wait. The appearing object.
Does it exist?
It exists. It exists.
Okay, so it follows it's not a wrong consciousness.
I always get this confused. Okay, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
Okay, so take the attachment to chocolate. It follows its engaged object doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. So it follows that which appears to it, except for the appearance itself, it doesn't exist. Except for the appearance itself, of course, the appearance of whatever engaged object that does exist. But in terms of except that particular type, it doesn't. Even what appears doesn't exist.
So the appearing object exists, but the object of engagement does not exist.
Yes, but the appearing object only exists because we say the appearance of whatever doesn't exist exists. So the appearance of, let's say, eggs, whatever it is. So the appearance of eggs, that exists. But eggs itself, which also appears, is also the appearing object, doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, good. So, therefore, what is the engaged object that is posited but doesn't exist of your attachment to chocolate?
So chocolate, which only has good qualities, maybe.
Yeah, and like not only it has only good qualities, but it's also exaggerated. The qualities are exaggerated. So there is a version of good qualities that you perceive when there's no attachment, and there's a version of these exaggerated qualities perceived by your attachment. So therefore, the chocolate be seen as attractive, or that's the wrong word here, but as being pleasant, that's not even its object, because pleasant chocolate exists. Couldn't be its object. Do you agree?
Can you say that one more time?
So saying pleasant chocolates or delicious chocolate is not even it cannot be its engaged object. Cannot be the engaged object because that exists. So it's a kind of exaggerated pleasantness that has no foundation in reality.
Wait, pleasant chocolate exists?
Oh, take the subject. Pleasant chocolate doesn't exist. Tasty chocolate. Let's put it like the word pleasant is maybe not used as widely. You would say tasty chocolate.
Why?
Oh, take the subject. Tasty subject doesn't exist.
Accept.
Delicious. Take the subject. Delicious food doesn't exist.
Well, maybe it does exist. It exists.
Why do you go to McLeod? Come on. Every now and then.
I thought you have to specify the person perceiving the object, but I guess it has a base, so it does exist.
I go to McLeod Ganj because it is food I'm attached to.
Yeah, that's true. So, but there's delicious food. I mean, you do eat delicious food. It follows you eat delicious food. I'm not talking about the food you're attached to, but it follows there's delicious food.
But that's,
Why?
Yeah, seems to specify that there is an objectivity about delicious.
Oh, just because so it follows there's no deliciousness.
There is.
Yeah, deliciousness does not exist.
It's a
So
point of
deliciousness doesn't exist. But by me saying deliciousness exists, it follows that I'm saying it exists objectively. Saying a table exists, it follows it has to exist objectively.
Why?
A table you see, like when we say a table exists, but you're saying deliciousness doesn't exist because that seems to imply deliciousness exists objectively. But when I'm saying a table exists, am I implying that the table exists objectively?
But what about someone having an unpleasant taste eating that delicious food?
Yeah.
Isn't that a
Someone
contradiction?
experiencing unpleasant taste when eating what kind of food?
Delicious.
Delicious food.
That is apparently delicious.
Well,
Sorry, but that's how it seems to me.
remember we had that discussion about what is it? Is this phone, is it long or short?
Yeah.
Right? And some of you said it's only one of the two. But I thought in the very end you all agreed it was both.
Yeah.
Didn't you all agree?
Yeah.
So it was long and short. If it's long and short both, and if it's delicious and non-delicious both, or if it's neutral, then you look, it's a long and short phone. It's both. In the same way, you can say it's delicious, non-delicious. Delicious, bad tasting, or neutral. It's all three.
So is food and delicious food mutually inclusive then?
If you didn't say that, that'd be a fault. You would have to say that. Food and delicious food is mutual, but whether you experience it that way, it's different. I know it sounds weird because we don't talk like that. Food is either delicious or it tastes horrible. But honestly, you can give an olive to 3 different people. What are you going to say? Or sushi or whatever, like food we're not used to. I guess noodles we probably all agree on, no matter where you're from. But certain foods, some might find delicious and others might find. So what is it? And I know it sounds weird, but pardon?
It's attachment.
Yeah, when it comes to attachment, I mean, we can sometimes, without having attachment, we experience something and we say, "Oh, that tastes really good." That's it, done. Is that a correct? So take that example. It follows it's a correct consciousness.
Except.
Why?
Yeah. Oh, it's not a correct consciousness. So delicious food doesn't exist.
So
Long
an ordinary
pencils.
being, an ordinary being eats food, and they have a pleasant feeling, and they say that food is delicious.
Yes.
No, that's a wrong consciousness.
Why?
Why? That's what I think.
Yeah, that's fine, but I wonder why you think that.
Well, this whole thing about like it's exaggerating the goodness, it's sort of hard to say that how much goodness is actually in the object.
I think if you were to say
Sweetness? What about sweetness? Oh, sorry, Kaiser, go ahead.
Oh, sure.
I think with his position, the consequence would be that every mind would be a wrong mind because feeling is an omnipresent mental factor. So there's always every object is going to be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral.
Very good. So, okay, Kelsey is debating Venerable Teacher. How do you answer? So, take the subject, an I consciousness apprehending vase that is associated or accompanied by a pleasant feeling. It follows it's a wrong consciousness. Yeah, that's a good point.
Is it in the mind of an ordinary being?
Yes?
Yeah.
Then yes, it's a wrong consciousness.
So it follows that every consciousness in the continuum of an ordinary being is a wrong consciousness. Because it always experiences one of the 3, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Or you'd have to say it has to be neutral.
Yeah.
No, I would actually say, I would say every mind in the continuum of an ordinary being is a wrong consciousness.
Oh. So it follows there are no conventional truth.
There's no conventional truth.
Yep.
Why?
Because there's no valid cognition that perceives them.
Reason not established.
Posit that valid cognition.
Valid cognition of Arya beings.
But Arya beings, I mean, they are also wrong consciousnesses, except for the realization, direct realization of emptiness, because they're all mistaken. I mean, if you take the Prasangika school,
not established.
like you're talking about the Satantrika school or just in general? Because in the Prasangika school, for instance, all conventional truth, but you're focusing on so even Arya being perceiving a delicious plate of food, That would be a wrong consciousness. So even an Arya
The
person.
subject is faulty.
Oh, so an Arya person does not experience a pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral food.
Except, yeah.
So an Arya being doesn't have feeling. So it follows that that's non-omnipresent mental factor. The mental factor of feeling is not omnipresent because it's not present in the continuum of an Arya.
Reason not established.
It follows it is present in the continuum of an Arya.
Except.
It follows it experiences one of the three: pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral.
Except they experience
Pardon?
all three. I think they'd experience all three.
So it follows that consciousness is a wrong consciousness.
Why?
All three. So these three are not contradictory. So it follows all three. So it's a correct mind, therefore all three. So that's even better. It gets me back to my point.
No, are you saying arhats in general? Are you saying arhats in general do experience pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings, and neutral feelings? But it's not like in one moment they experience all three. It's just in general.
Oh, just in general. Okay, so it follows that an Arya experiencing a particular type of food experiences only one of the three, not all three, right?
Except, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so it follows that it experiences one of the three. It follows that it's a wrong consciousness. If it, for instance, let's say it experiences pleasant food, it follows that's a wrong consciousness.
But an Arya would never think pleasant food. An Arya would think
we're not
pleasant
thinking.
feeling.
Why would it not think it's pleasant? What's
You
wrong
eat the
with
food,
thinking pleasant?
You eat the food and then a pleasant feeling arises. But it's not like the food is pleasant. It's just given it's given rise to a pleasant feeling.
So it follows the food is not pleasant?
Except, yeah.
So it follows the water is not wet?
Why?
Because it's due to our karma that water is experienced as wet. For instance, a preta being may experience in the same place where we perceive water, they may perceive a desert. So it's due to our karma that we perceive in a particular place water, just as it's our karma that we perceive a certain food to be pleasant, don't we?
Water being wet is not the result of karma.
No, but when you have a liquid, for instance, you know, the liquid in the bowl, so that wetness of water that is unique to water, that is experienced only by a human.
Yes.
Right? So that is due to the karma of the human versus a preta being, for instance, who perceives either nothing, just dryness, or perceives pus in blood. So that has to do... Pardon? How's the reasoning the same? Because you're saying the pleasantness, I suppose you're saying the pleasantness is the result of a karmic cause that experiences something as pleasant.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I thought you were getting at. You're saying that there is no pleasantness. It's not in the food. It's something we just experience, and I suppose because of our karma.
Yeah, we experience it, and then we associate it with the food.
Yeah, but we experience it. Our tongue consciousness experiences it, doesn't it?
Yeah, but water being wet, water being impermanent, this is not a result of karma.
No.
Pleasant food and unpleasant food is the result.
No. Water being impermanent, I didn't say. But like the wetness that you experience as a human being when you have that bowl of water, right? It's the wetness of water. So if the water is the result of your karma, it's that wetness as well. I mean, by association. It's something that you experience because of your body consciousness of a human. Impermanence is different because they all experience something impermanent. But that unique water itself, right? Or you could say they don't experience water because let's leave aside the wetness. Just water itself is the result of karma. That appears to my mind, but not to the preta being. Isn't that my karma? And for a celestial being, you perceive ambrosia. So that is the result of their karma, especially
So
this particular example.
Water being wet is due to the karma of the person observing it.
No, leave the water being wet. Just say water itself. So it follows you can't experience water because that's a result of karma. Let's take the three beings looking at a bowl of liquid. I experience water, so it follows I don't experience water because that's the result of my karma. So there is no water really, because it's just a result of my karma.
Well, this example is a little hard for me because, I mean, do gods and better beings really experience it that way? It's sort of hard for me to even fathom that.
I'm not
Is
sure
there
they
something-
always do. I don't know whether they always do. Like I said, like some preta beings, when we say lake, they see just a desert. So it's not given that they always see pus and blood, and possibly human gods always don't always see it. But this is a particular example. I suppose there are situations when that happens, right?
But I mean, that example, it's hard for me to like say, like, I guess it's hard for me for that to prove anything to me because
Okay, let's leave it then. Never mind for now. We don't need to cite that. But any kind of life situation we find ourselves in, so they're a result of our karma, right? I mean, every kind of experience we have, it's basically a result. So being killed, for instance, is a result of my karma. So it follows I cannot perceive being robbed. Let's put it that way. Being killed is hard to to be conscious the whole way through. But being robbed is a result of my karma. But it follows it doesn't exist. I cannot perceive being robbed because it's just a result of my karma.
I still feel very
Or
much
looking in a particular way, being born a woman, for instance. So it follows I cannot perceive I'm a woman because that's the result of my karma. Being born human. Not everyone is.
I still feel it's very different.
Right. Think about it. Think about it. No, it's fine. You should have your own opinion, but think about it. So just because it's the result of karma doesn't make it. And they say that the Buddha, whatever the Buddha experiences, is totally blissful. And again, that is like super pleasant. So it's like this the absolute pleasantness that is even possible. So it follows the Buddha doesn't perceive that because, right, according to the answer you gave earlier, it doesn't exist. So the Buddha has a wrong consciousness. So romishim roshim nang, there's this saying. So even non-delicious food appears extremely delicious to the Buddha. Romishim roshim nang. Roshim nang. Yeah.
I would say the opposite. I would say if the deliciousness was in the food, and if there was food that was really unpleasant, and the Buddha experienced it as pleasant, then the Buddha would have a wrong consciousness.
When
But
you
if
say
the
deliciousness in the
food,
yeah, like the deliciousness is not in the food. The taste is not in the food, you're saying. The taste is in the food, but not the delicious taste.
yes, yeah, there's no.
Okay. So what about a particular climate? Is the warmth in the climate?
Yeah, that's a good example. No, the warmth couldn't be in the climate.
Oh, so being warm and cold don't exist, right?
Warm and cold.
For instance, if someone from Siberia who's just experienced -40 comes to Delhi right now, and trust me, it was cold. No, it wasn't too cold. It was in evening time. It was cold. So it was kind of cold. So for someone from Siberia, I mean, they'd get out their bathing suit, I guess. You know, it's like, oh my god, it's so hot, and then everyone else is like wrapped up in down jackets and stuff. So what is it, hot or cold? So hot and cold don't exist according to you, because it's totally subjective depending on where you're from. Like I said, I met this nun the other day, and she told me where she comes. She's from Russia, and in her hometown, the temperature in winter is -40. You can't run; it kills you. If you run, it kills you. It gets to you, your lungs freeze. Basically, it's that cold. So, like, when this nun comes to Delhi right now, let's say 10, she'd be like hot. Like after a long winter in Siberia, or in that part of Russia she's from. She's not from Siberia. So what is it? So hot and cold don't exist. Whoa, the Buddha does not contradict convention. That's out. The Buddha does not contradict convention. So we're not saying that he doesn't contradict inherent existence. Yes, he does. Conventionally would say it exists inherently, but the view of inherent existence harms us. So that's out. But being hot and cold and delicious or not, yeah, I guess according to Venerable Tekchuk, it would harm us because that's an extreme view. That's not in accordance with reality. But yeah, I guess it's a little difficult. Hot and cold are out.
And don't worry, I'm not a Buddha. I can contradict verbal convention.
Oh, I would have thought. Well, as I usually say, you could all be Buddhas, and you're just there for me to accumulate enough merit to continue with my practice. Yeah. So anyway, that's a whole discussion, but it's okay. The point is not to find an answer. The point is to know how to debate it, right, and reflect on it further. Okay, so going back to, pleasant, unpleasant, that's difficult. Feeling is difficult, so there are other reasons as well for why it's difficult. But here, going back to the aspect, what time is it? Oh, it's past. Okay, I'm so used to the full hour, but now for me it's not a full hour.
Shima, may I just very short
Please.
question? So,
Yes,
but then the focal object of my attachment to chocolate would be chocolate.
Yes,
Just
very
chocolate.
good. Absolutely.
Okay.
But it's not an object. It's not your appearing object. It's not your engaged object. But yes, you're right. The focal object is the chocolate. You could say the pleasantness of the pleasant chocolate even. I mean, from the point of view of how I look at it, it's like the pleasant chocolate is your focal object, not the exaggerated version of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe
Yes,
it's because we are from Switzerland.
Pardon?
No, I said because we are from Switzerland, we have attachment to good chocolate.
Yeah, you do have some really good chocolate over there. I would agree. But who knows, someone who's used to other chocolates, whether they would agree. Okay, great. Let's leave it at that. We'll meet again tomorrow. Where did we get to? Yeah. So please just continue to read from there on. Like, let's say 3 pages would cover what we could possibly cover tomorrow. Okay, great. And then let's dedicate.
Having heard the investigation according to all that I have heard, day and night to the 4 reasonings, mind-born of reflection on these topics of contemplation, may this discernment sever all doubts.
Okay, thank you. And tomorrow we meet again at 2.